On the next all-new episode of My Adventures with Superman.
What?
What are you doing here? Who are you, trespasser?
I don't know. I can't remember.
My Adventures with Superman, new episode, next Saturday at midnight on Toonami, next day on Max.
In our never-ending quest to conquer the greatest Metroidvanias,
we came across an instant classic.
it's called Animal Well, and it's way deeper than it seems.
As a random blob, you awake in a strange and psychedelic world.
With barely a clue what to do or why you're doing it, you just start wandering around.
As you make your way through the 4 biomes in search of the colored flames,
You'll come across many blocked paths.
each area is a puzzle to be solved, and it's up to you to make sense of it all.
There are no battles and no time limits. You can die, but the only real penalty is a ton of backtracking.
The animals in the well can be friends or foes.
And how you deal with them all depends on what special items you've found.
You can finish the basics in 5 or 6 hours.
But if you have the patience and fortitude to play on after the credits roll, there's lots more fun down the rabbit hole.
We give Animal Well an 8 out of 10.
Secrets upon secrets.
Hello and welcome to Toonami Therapy, our podcast where we talk about anime, some of which airs on Toonami, in fact. I'm Michael.
Yeah, hello, I'm Tom.
And I already explained everything, so I guess we'll just jump into it because I don't think we have any news. We know that Zom 100 is being replaced by a second One Piece episode, so 2 Piece, I guess. Don't think I'm creative. I've seen a ton of people make that joke. Anyway, but we still don't know what's replacing Superman. Maybe we'll see 3 episodes of One Piece. Might not be the worst thing, because then we'd be getting a full episode every week, wouldn't we?
Yeah, 3 piece.
Yeah. Well, that's maybe a little unfair. We'd probably, with 3 episodes, I'd say we'd be getting 1.25 episodes of content. All right.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. We start out with the stuff that aired on Toonami. So we've got My Adventures with Superman, episode 17. So basically, Jimmy and Lois decide we got to go help Superman. So they decide to, basically try to get this spaceship to get back there, and they go through sort of heist thing. The episode is called Olsen's 11, which is actually, I'll be honest, that's probably more clever than anything in the episode. So they grab Livewire and Recruiter to try to help, but then she seems to quit and leave, but then comes back and helps them and stuff. And then they also meet up with that gorilla guy and that brain guy from the first season who show up to help them. And then they all just go off in the shuttle, and then they get to Superman. And that's basically the episode. As I mentioned with my comment, I didn't really like it that much. It kind of felt like, okay, so we got to get them to where Superman is, fine, but I don't know. I don't feel like we had to really spend a whole episode on just that, really.
Yeah. I wasn't a big fan of this episode either. It's kind of gotten stale, and the fact that Superman himself never showed up in this episode, I don't think, at least maybe a couple of seconds, I don't know, but that kind of yeah, it wasn't that great. And yeah, I don't know how much more I'll be watching with this. But yeah.
Yeah, there's also that weird sort of cheesy thing about like love or whatever, and that Livewire like says, "Oh yeah, well I heard you talking about all this stuff, so that inspired me to come back." And I'm like, "Well, this came out of nowhere."
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that
also, I never thought of this before because honestly, I forgot that this character even was Livewire. Like, she was just like some villain, and I'm like, wow. Now I suddenly remember that because she was a character in the original Superman series, and I'm like, wow, her character design here is way worse than it was back in that series. I like maybe I just completely forgot it was her because she doesn't look like the one that I knew. Now maybe this is what it's like in the comics. I don't know, but honestly, it's not even. This episode also just kind of made me look back and realize, wow, the last few episodes I don't think were that great. We've got all this kind of relationship drama. We've got other stuff. I don't know. After the first season, I thought had a really good start and then got worse as it went on. Whereas this one, I thought had a pretty. At this one, I thought, actually, no, the second, it's the same thing. I apologize.
Yeah.
I got mixed up for some reason and thought I was thinking it started out not great, then got better. No, wait, it was the opposite way. So it's the same thing. So yeah, we'll see if we keep up with it. I mean, there's only 3 episodes. I know I'm at least gonna finish. So we'll just see how it goes. But yeah, it was not very big on this episode as a whole. So okay. And then we move on to Zom 100 episode 11. And in this episode, it's, even though this isn't really a shonen series or a battle series, it decides that we need to basically have a bunch of one-on-one fights between the main characters and the enemies. And
yeah, one battle.
Yeah, I need to, by the way, I always feel I should give credit to my jokes. That was actually one you came up with. You mentioned it to me.
Yeah.
So they basically go through that, and essentially we get taught, the main characters basically tell the bad guys about, hey, by the way, your life's philosophy is completely wrong, and here's why. And I'm thinking, well, we just kind of met these guys and didn't really know that much, so I don't know if we need to do this much emphasis on it. Anyway, they all get eaten by zombies anyway. So then we also I just realized one of the old guys in this looks a lot like Aramaki from Ghost in the Shell. I was like, who does he look like? Oh yeah, he looks like him. Okay. Anyway, basically they then the bad guy then tries to ultimately, in the last of the one-on-one things, the bad guy holds the main character's father hostage and tells him like, you need to, what exactly did he say? I think he said that he had to let himself become a zombie or he would kill his father or something like that. It was something like that. And yep, that's basically the episode.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add. I've kind of given up on this, but I will watch one more episode just for the sake of completing this thing. Yeah.
Maybe the final episode will completely turn you around on it.
Yeah, we'll see.
Legitimate question. Other than Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, has a final episode ever dramatically increased your opinion of a series?
Yeah, it did in something. I'm trying to remember what it was. There was one show we watched. We watched this one together. I know that much. I can't think of what it was, though. Where it was like the last second thing. It probably wasn't any time recently. It's probably like ways back there. I'm trying to look to see if I can figure it out, but Nah, I don't know. I don't know what it was. But I do think there was one that
Okay.
will be here all night if I try to figure it
Okay,
out.
it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, I can't think of exactly what you're referring to either, but all right. So yeah, we've gotten this, and we got one episode left. We'll see how it turns out. As usual, I feel like I didn't really like it that much, but I liked it more than you did.
I don't think it's possible to like it less than I did.
I mean, I at least got a good laugh out of the part where Beatrice is able to avoid the zombies by walking on like the water wheel, and then she says, wait, how do I get down?" Okay, so then after that, we've got One Piece episode. What episode are we on? 673. All right, so basically, we find the heroes end up encountering, well, actually, I don't, maybe I should just say the soldier guy, because I don't think any of the main characters are actually there, but he ends up fighting a guy with devil fruit powers who can inflate stuff, I think was his power. Okay. And then, no, he's fighting him, and then he gets rescued by Luffy. That was how it went. Okay, so meanwhile, basically what's going on with the other things is that they're still trying to defeat Sugar by basically popping the weird sort of grape thing into her mouth, but she's able to stop it. Also, she's able to turn Robin into one of the toys. Oh no! And
Yeah.
Yep, that's basically it.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about this one. It was not terrible. It just wasn't. There wasn't enough that happened.
Yeah,
Was it a whole chapter, or was this like 3/4 of the chapter?
Oh, I don't know. I always need to. I should look. I should always have this open to check it out. Let me just check quick. Okay, episode 673. All right, we've got this one was, yeah, it says pages 3 to 9, so that's almost all of a chapter.
Wow.
Yeah, the first One Piece chapters, if you look at the count for when you on the One Piece wiki, I should mention pretty much no chapters ever have the first page, because the first page of One Piece is like always just some random thing, like maybe just a random drawing he did. Some of the times they're requests, sometimes they're part of like these sort of stories, but so a full chapter would be chapter pages 2 to 19. Here, I guess they took off one page and went 3 to 19. So yes, almost one chapter. Okay, yeah, I don't have too much else to say about this one. I feel like I would be enjoying this a lot more if we just had better, if we didn't have all the padding. One Piece Kai can't come soon enough. Okay.
What does Kai mean anyway?
I actually don't know. Let's search. Let's see. Not seeing that here. I mean, one of the characters is named King Kai. Does it have something to do with that? Let's see if I can just check Dragon Ball Z Kai. How is it written? Okay, I got it. Okay, here we go. Thanks, I found it. It's a little weird they say Kai because there is a translation to it. Kai in this case means revised.
Okay.
So yeah, just Dragon Ball Z revised, but they kept they kept Kai, I guess, because it sounds better, although it's also more confusing. you know,
Yeah.
kind of like how I think the original what Kamehameha meant in Japanese was turtle destruction wave. So in a case like this, I think it sounds a little better to just have, okay, Kamehameha.
Yeah.
Also, Kamehameha sounds a lot better than turtle destruction wave.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, right. You didn't watch it this time, but we did actually finish this arc in Naruto Shippuden. Shikamaru managed to beat the guy. Sai comes back to normal. Also, because I guess they wanted to actually set him it up, they both Shikamaru and Sai do end up asking Tamario and Ino out on dates. So there you go. The start of their relationships, I guess. Okay. Sorry, just a quick note. Okay. And there we go. That ends with the regular Toonami stuff. After that, let's go to our other series. All right, we got Full Metal Panic, the second raid, episode 11.
Okay, so Sosuke quit, and now he's just wandering the streets of Hong Kong, and he runs into a prostitute who, by total coincidence, looks exactly like Toonami. Although I was pretty impressed at what a good job the voice actors did of pretending to be Toonami, because I'm like, okay, that was just Konami's voice actress just sounding a little more mature. It's like, no, that wasn't. It was a totally different actress. So, yeah. So that was a interesting moment where Sosuke is like kind of lost his will to live over this. And yeah, and then everyone else is still battling and kind of retreating. And yeah, most of this episode was just Sosuke going through a depression and wanting to drink his problems away. I mean, it's pretty much all that happened. We had the prostitute scene, that took a while. And this, she had to act as much like Toonami as possible. I still can't believe that wasn't her voice actress. Like, wow, she really pulled off a good job with that. So credit to them with that. But this episode didn't really have much to offer aside from that.
Yeah, she looks so much like Konami that. So when you look at the list of episodes on Crunchyroll, for each episode, it shows like a random image from the episode, and I see the picture, and it has her with Sosuke, and I'm like, okay, so I guess Konami and Sosuke meet in this episode finally again. Yeah, kind of a weird episode. So yeah, I don't have too much necessarily else to say about it. Let me just think. Yeah, there's basically that. I guess maybe the point is that Sosuke needs to, learn the lesson and get back to normal and all that sort of stuff. But yeah. Okay, let's see. After that, we've got Dark Gathering, episode 18. So, they managed to beat all, like, the remaining monsters. we do find out that the father ghost, well, his wife didn't just kind of die. He actually killed her, apparently. So basically, Yayoi decides, well, okay, well, we're not going to let you just go on and pass on, but you're just going to guard the house for us. And then they just, so all that stuff is resolved. They catch up a bit with Keitaro again, where there actually were some pretty funny jokes in that bit. And then we have a very confusing bit with these other ghosts, and one of them is like this woman who's apparently... I can't even summarize what happened in that scene because I was so confused by it. But apparently apparently the big takeaway we're supposed to get is that the female ghost is heavily implied to be Yayoi's dead mother.
Okay.
Yeah, this was honestly maybe I'm forgetting something, but I was like, oh wow, this episode is pretty violent even for this show. Oof. Yeah, I thought it was okay. I wish Keitaro had been around more because the best part of the episode was when he was finally back.
Yeah, I think this show needs Keitaro to survive. And right now, at least before he showed up, it wasn't really that entertaining. So we need. That's one of the lessons that we're learning recently is that you need all your main characters to make for a successful show. Konosuba has proven that, and Full Metal Panic has proven that. If you don't have all your main characters, then your show isn't going to be as good. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So after that, we've gotten let's see, what's the next? Right. Konosuba episode, which you just mentioned, so that works great. Episode 29. So Kazuma and the others want to try to go to Darkness's mansion, and because they want to talk to her about leaving it, but she won't see them. Kazuma does try to see if they can recruit a new member, but the whole thing gets botched by Megumin. Intentionally, though, on her part, it seems. There's this part that has nothing to do with anything else in the episode, where this one guy thinks how do I even describe this? Where this one guy tries to get Kazuma's help with something, and, well, to make a long story short, it ends up with the other guy dressing up in women's undergarments and them taking a bunch of pictures because they were trying to mess with this one guy, but the guy ended up wanting to actually see all that, so there's that. It's one of those things where I think the joke might have worked better if it hadn't been just completely randomly put in the middle of an unrelated episode and hadn't gone on for so long.
Yeah.
Back to the actual plot. Kazuma does manage to sneak into the mansion and confronts Darkness about it. They kind of argue a bit. Ultimately, Kazuma ends up meeting Darkness's father, who tells him that we do find out the reason that they're doing all of this is the fact that they need to pay off a debt. She's marrying that Al Derp guy, and in order to pay off a debt of her family. And Kazuma happens to see her father, and her father tells Kazuma, look, just grab her and leave and take her far away. I'll just sell the mansion to pay off the debt. But then Kazuma doesn't end up doing that and ends up having to leave. So, yep, that's our episode. I think I did really like the part where Megumin is like, when they're trying to get members, she like, does this big thing where she's talking to everyone. It's like, I'm Megumin, blah, blah. Says, you may know me as the crazy explosion girl. And then no one wants to join. That was pretty funny. On the whole, I thought when it was focusing more on the plot stuff, it was better. I mean, the jokes there were good. I just thought that random part with the other characters just felt like it was just randomly inserted into the episode out of nowhere. Also,
yeah, I felt like that was like some blatant fan service that kind of, or just like, hey, we're gonna have some pandering to people who want this fan service, and then we'll sneak that in there, and now we'll get back to the plot again.
Weird. Also, because it, of course, has a thing. Has there ever been a series where two characters hear a conversation? They don't see what the people are talking about or anything, just hear it. And it sounds like it's something really lewd. And then it turns out that it's exactly what they thought it was. Every single time, it always says, oh, we didn't have the context, so we completely misinterpreted what they were saying. That's how it always goes. And unfortunately, that just makes it really obvious that that's going to the twist. Although I'll admit I didn't really see where they were going with that exactly, but I knew there was going to be some sort of changing there. Anyway, I guess we'll see how this gets resolved. And there were some funny bits. I like the part where Aqua tries to put some sort of thing on Enchantment and Cosmo that gives them the ability to do party tricks, which ends up actually being really useful because it lets them mimic people's voices perfectly.
Yeah. I remember he complained about that, but then that ended up like being the most important thing he got. So kudos to Aqua. You did something important for once. And again, though, we are seeing what happens whenever the four characters aren't all together. It's Darkness continues to act out of character, I think, and I don't know why, but she just doesn't seem like herself, and I think there were some funny jokes in this episode, but that part in the middle that made no sense at all, which just seemed to be blatant fan service pandering, wistful fulfillment stuff. I thought that brought down the episode as a whole. And also with Darkness, like, feeling embarrassed and not getting turned on by it, like, that was like, wait a minute, that would usually be a joke right there, and the joke isn't being made, and I feel like something's missing there, and that's why she's kind of acting out of character. So yeah, I don't think it was horrible. I just for the fourth straight week, it's not in my top 2, so there you go.
Okay. All right, so we got Kaiju number 8, episode 8. Okay, so basically last time the vice captain guy ended up confronting Kafka while he's in his Kaiju form, so he doesn't know it's Kafka. Kafka ultimately is able to, so he kind of forces Kafka into a fight. Kafka is able to disarm him and get away, which does leave him wondering, why did the Kaiju, knock away my weapon instead of attacking me? Anyway, we get that. We do find out that we see a little more of Kaiju number 9, who kills a guy and just takes his appearance. And other than that, we basically find out that hey, remember how Kafka was just a cadet or whatever? Well, now he's not a cadet. He's an official part of the Defense Force, so I'm not sure what the point of that was in retrospect. Hey, you're just a cadet, but then he acts completely normally. I don't know, maybe it was just to try to enforce the fact he only barely made it in. And yeah, that's basically our episode. I thought it was decent. I just don't know if I have much to say about it.
Actually, I thought this was pretty good. And I just thought it was a little predictable at times. It was like, okay, so they're all eating in there, and everyone's getting along with each other. The guy's like, isn't it great that everyone's getting along? And then as soon as he says that, everyone starts fighting. And it's like, boy, everyone's fighting. And then as soon as he says that, people start working out their differences. So those were like very obvious things that were going to happen. And it was just, that was too predictable. Yeah, some of the things in this episode were just too predictable. My biggest problem is like, why doesn't he just say, look, guys, you know, I somehow got, you know, infected by a kaiju, so now I'm kaiju number 8. I promise I won't hurt anyone. You know, just let me go. And the worst thing that could happen if he said that is that they would try to kill him. But that's what they're trying to do anyway. They're trying to kill him anyway. So why not just try to figure out a better way around it rather than trying to keep a secret that doesn't benefit him at all to keep it a secret. So that, you know, that I know they're trying to make jokes off it. I understand it's there for the plot, but it just doesn't make any sense. Like, it would make a lot more sense if he was like, you know, guys, look, I became kaiju number 8. You know, I can't help it, but I'm going to work for you guys from now on. And, you know, that seems to be a much better plan than trying to run for your life every time it happens, you know?
Well, as it did say, there was the worry of them trying to kill him if he did do that. You say they were already trying to, but that's only specifically when he's in the kaiju form. It at least means that, you know, when he's in his human form, he's fine. Whereas if, you know, it just says, hey, this is me, then that would mean literally there wouldn't even be that option anymore. If they decide to do that, which Kikoru does speculate is something they probably would do. She speculated that, I think, back in episode 5 or something, or 4, something like that. So that might be the reason. Okay. Yeah, all right. And you're right, the show is kind of predictable. It is very... But I think it just does it well still. It reminds me kind of Black Clover. In that Black Clover is really, when you get down to it, it's just so many cliches lined up in a row, but it just executes them well. So it manages to work for me. Now, I get why some people wouldn't like something that is kind of predictable, but I feel sometimes as long as you actually do it well, it works.
Yeah, I'm not sure how well it's working. It's a pretty good, how can I put it? It was a pretty good episode, but I feel like I've seen it a million times.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it feels so much like Bleach or, you know, Black Clover that every time something happens, I'm like, yep, that's going to happen next. That's going to happen next. It's very, and here's the other thing I don't get. People are like, well, this series is so much different than other shonen series, because this series, the main character is older. It's like, yeah, but he doesn't act like he's older. He acts like he's a 16-year-old. So, so really, it doesn't really make a difference. He acts like a teenager. So why does it matter that he's, older than everyone else? That doesn't really fly with me.
I think he does act more differently than a younger person, but I do agree that while it was emphasized early on, it does kind of feel like the factor of age has kind of been de-emphasized considerably. Like it kind of feels like you really could just be he could just be like in his 20s and not really that much would change. So, okay. All right, I think that's everything there. So, after that, then we've got Spice and Wolf, Merchant Meets the Wise Wolf, episode 2.
Okay, so this episode, you know what? I'm not very good at doing these recaps. You want to do it?
Oh man, how do I even describe what happened in this episode? Basically, they kind of spend some Holo and what's Lawrence? That's his name?
Lawrence, yeah, that's his last name.
Okay. They basically, since they're going traveling, they spend some time together. We get a bunch of fan service earlier on with Holo for some reason. I kind of thought, okay, that's the first episode. No, maybe we're going to be getting a lot more of it. Although I also couldn't help but think, the guy kind of acts like embarrassed when he sees her naked. And I'm thinking, yeah, but her hair covers everything up, really. So that aside, basically the big thing is that he ends up in sort of... There's so much discussion of business stuff in this episode, to the point that I'm kind of having trouble explaining exactly what happened, other than characters talked a lot about business.
But that's actually a major theme of this series. So, from what I hear, there's a lot of business talk in this show. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't say it was like boring. It's just I don't know exactly how to summarize it all. But basically, doesn't a guy make some sort of business offer? I can't remember exactly what it was, but he and Holo agree that there's probably something fishy there, but they still ultimately decide, well, one way or the other, we want to follow up on this. So they decide to do that, and they go to the place to meet the guy to do to look into the business thing.
Yeah, surprisingly though, I actually really liked it. I liked the dynamic between the two characters. I think they make a pretty good couple. They had that couple of scenes where they had like flashbacks to bad things that happened to them in the past, so they kind of like work out those issues with each other. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I don't know about you, but I actually think it's pretty good so far.
I like the dynamic I like the interactions between the two main characters for the most part, but I also was just kind of left thinking that I wish there had been a little more plot in this episode. But we're only in the second episode. We're still establishing things, so that might be a little unfair to me. Unfair to the series to be saying, come on, get to the plot right away. It's episode 2. Why haven't you gotten into the big plot yet? Come on, get into the big thing about the archdemon over in the castle that you have to go and negotiate with in order to save the world. Maybe that does happen. Maybe maybe they have to negotiate somehow, and like the world's fate comes down to the ability to negotiate.
Isn't that the old joke about Picard versus Kirk? Like, Kirk would fight the guy, but Picard would negotiate with him. Wasn't that the old joke? I forget how it goes.
Something like that. I do remember. Hang on. Let me just the exact thing that someone posted is probably not online anymore. Yeah, I can't find it. But I just remember when someone said something. They said, how did they say? It was something like, so Kirk would like beat up his opponent. Picard would give a pompous speech. Cisco would beat up his opponent, then give a pompous speech. Cisco was on Deep Space Nine. If anyone didn't recognize that one, oh poor Deep Space Nine, you were so good and yet you just never achieved the fame of the original or Next Generation.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kirk definitely did get more. I mean, he was the one who was always going onto the away missions, whereas Picard usually stayed on the ship. Because, you don't want to put the captain in danger, whereas Kirk would always, just go down to the planet. But he'd be safe because some guy wearing a red shirt would always die instead.
Yeah. Well, Picard went on some crazy mission too.
Oh.
Like that, later in the series, though. Oh,
no, he definitely did. It's just he didn't do it as much as Kirk. Kirk would like always constantly leave the Enterprise to beam down to the planet to do whatever had to be done. From what I remember anyway, it has been a pretty long time since I've seen the original series. Okay. All right, so there we go. Now we conclude with the Toonami Rewind, and we got Sailor Moon episode 5.
Okay. Okay, so now it's about pets this week. It's the same episode as episode 2, 3, and 4. It's just this week it's about pets. So all these people get these crazy-looking pets, and they turn out to be objects to control their minds. And Sagi's brother, which, okay, this is something that happens later, but like, I don't think that's her real brother. But, yeah, so basically, he is having trouble with Luna. They're kind of fighting with each other. And then what happens is that, Sailor Moon comes, saves the day, and then he sees Sailor Moon and somehow doesn't realize that's his sister. So he's like, you know what? Sailor Moon's like, you gotta be nice to any pets you have. So then you start getting along with Luna. Everything's happy. So there you have it. And Tuxedo Mask also showed up just to do nothing too. So there you have it.
Yeah. How does he not recognize his own sister? In that it's not like she's in like a disguise. Her outfit is different, and that's basically it. At least, like, people make jokes about Superman, but at least Superman takes off his glasses. And this is like literally not just some random person, is literally his sister. So that was kind of weird. I also do find it a little weird that whenever she transforms, she always goes like, in the name of the moon, I'll punish you. Like, like she's all psyched up. And then immediately she's like, no, I don't want to fight. After like the big dramatic, I'm going to fight you bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's the same thing basically. I recently saw someone say they were rewatching Sailor Moon and said, it gets a lot better after more Sailor Scouts are introduced. So I'm hoping they get
Yeah.
introduced soon.
Yeah, it does get better. I agree with that. But right now it's kind of boring with no one else with her, and you've got what's the I looked it up. It's like a 49% filler rate, which is like one of the highest filler rates ever.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think all these episodes, all of them except number one, have been filler. So there you have it.
Yeah, there's a lot of filler in the series. It's because so the way it's an adaptation of a manga that was ongoing. So you have the thing where you can't let the manga get ahead of you. You got to do filler. That's what happened with Dragon Ball Z. That's what you see literally. What we've been talking about constantly with One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach got into it. Although those series, unlike One Piece, which just stretches everything out, Naruto and Bleach, well, they would stretch things out, but they also did filler arcs and such. So the problem Sailor Moon had is not only is it that, but it was a weekly. Those series I just mentioned, they're a weekly manga series, and the animes are weekly. Sailor Moon, the anime, was weekly, but the manga series was monthly. So they had to do even more padding than for those series. In truth, as I understand it, like, it's not just that they add a bunch of filler and padding, but also they just expanded on a lot of stuff, which, had the effect of filling up extra time, but in some cases actually like fleshed out some characters better. So yeah, we'll see. I do want to have more characters because it is just, yeah, I mean, there's a reason why on Power Rangers they don't like start with one ranger and gradually add several more. They start out with several rangers at the start of every season. Some seasons, I think the lowest number of rangers they started with was 3, and then they would still like add some extras soon enough.
Yeah.
It's just here, yeah. Usagi has very much trouble like holding the show up by herself. All you've really got is the other characters. Important ones are Luna and Tuxedo Mask, and Tuxedo Mask just kind of just shows up briefly to say, "Hey, keep fighting," and then leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping we get a little more as it goes on, because this is the reason I was not into this show when I was a kid.
Yeah, I can see why.
Okay. So then we got Dragon Ball Z Kai episodes 9 to 10. So basically, our main while Goku continues trying to head back down Snake Way in order to go to help his friends, the characters have to fight the Saiyans, Vegeta and Nappa. Now, Yamcha, Yamcha gets himself killed by one of the Cybermen who, by the way, you might think, oh, these guys, they're here to fill up stuff. No, they weren't actually padding. They were there in the original. I think they're just there trying to emphasize, hey, these guys are as strong as Raditz. Oh, well, some of the characters, well, Piccolo's much stronger because he was able to take care of them and such. Anyway, so Yamcha gets killed. Then they end up fighting Nappa for real. Chaozu tries to blow himself up to defeat him, but it doesn't work, which has
that hilarious line. He blew himself up for nothing. That was such a funny line.
Honestly, that is supposed to be really dramatic, especially because of the fact, oh no, he died before, and you can only be wished back by the Dragon Balls once. Well, by the way, I guess I'll just say, yeah, that changes later on, basically. But basically, you find out there's the Earth Dragon Balls, and there's this other set of Dragon Balls on this other planet, and they each have different rules. Like the other one, if I remember, you can wish back someone multiple times, but I think you can only wish back one person at a time with those. I don't remember the specifics, but The problem I have is that Chaozu Sacrifice, I have seen this parodied like multiple times. Bobobo did a spoof of it where Don Patch like blows up when fighting over, but then, is okay afterwards. There's this one bit where you can look it up. If you let me see if I can find the exact one. Let's see. There's this image, yeah. If Togashi wrote Dragon Ball Z, Togashi is the author of Hunter x Hunter, and it basically shows this bit where after Chaozu grabs Nappa, Tien just spends like 6 panels, most of them being entirely text, just analyzing why Chaozu would do that. It's a parody of this one notorious page of Hunter x Hunter that is mostly all text. And by the way, at least one manga series has parodied that bit of Hunter x Hunter. It was called like Liko Pone, the Tomatoi Poodle. It's not actually translated into English, but I saw the page and it's a direct spoof of that. I need to get back to my point. And the third one was, of course, just this spinning Dragon Ball Z abridged, where they kind of made fun of it by Nappa, who that one kept calling Chaozu a Pokemon to think, he used self-destruct. Anyway, so all that stuff done, that's the case. He's there's that, and then ultimately, Tien dies also, and so which all this would be really. This is where the problem, when you start with Dragon Ball Z, you have no idea who these characters are or why you should care about them dying. Anyway, Vegeta then just decides, okay, well, if Goku's going to show up, we'll just wait I'll give you 3 hours for that. And, yep, that's basically it. So 3 characters who, unfortunately, you have no attachment to and don't know anything about if all you've seen is Dragon Ball Z so far. Like I said, some of the filler episodes actually were not the worst to have because it gave you a little more focus on them, so you had a little more reason to care about them when they died.
Yeah.
Yep, so that's basically the episodes. I thought these were decent, even if it does, unfortunately. That's just a problem. I feel like for this to work, it really requires you to have at least some degree of investment in these characters who got a lot of attention in the original Dragon Ball, but if you start with Dragon Ball Z, you're like, oh no, these guys died. I guess that's bad.
Well, I enjoyed it a lot just because it was so funny. Yeah, it was. These episodes were so funny. I couldn't stop laughing at them, especially that part where he blew himself up for nothing. And I was like looking at people, and sure enough, people have parodied that line quite a bit. So I wasn't the only one who found that funny. So yeah, that was a very funny couple of episodes.
Well, I don't know if most of that was intentionally trying to be funny. Dragon Ball sometimes does go for intentional comedy. I think they were trying to be that funny with it. Okay. And then lastly, we get Naruto episode 5. So, yeah, Sasuke didn't beat Kakashi. Kakashi was actually totally fine. He beat Sasuke pretty easily. The other characters aren't able to beat him. Ultimately, he then just tells them that, I'm not sending you back to the academy. I'm just expelling you 3 from the program. And they're saying, wait, what? And then he explains, the whole thing was actually a test. It was supposed because we put you on these squads for the purposes of teamwork, and the whole point was that you would need to. The thing was a test because there were only 2 bells there, which was to try to kind of create division, and the test was to see who would actually propose to the others, hey, we need to work together for the good of the group, even if one person gets left back. And then he says, okay, fine, I'll give you another chance. You guys, let's see, you can eat some food and you'll have to go up against me later, but Naruto doesn't get anything to eat and then leaves. And Sasuke gives the food to Naruto anyway, you know, saying you're not going to be of any help if you don't eat. Kakashi shows up again and seems really angry, but then he's like, nope, you pass. It was because while it's bad to not follow the rules, it's even worse to not support your comrades. So he lets them all pass. And right after an episode that was all about the importance of helping your allies and all that stuff, all three of them just decide to leave Naruto tied to the pole.
Yeah, so I had a lot of problems with this because they really didn't help Naruto all that much. All they really did was give him like one mouthful of food, and that was enough for Kakashi to say you passed. Like he's never passed anyone, and they give a tiny bit of rice to Naruto, and that was good enough to pass them. And that's after he even explained to them that it was supposed to be teamwork, so they kind of knew what it was all about. So they were kind of cheating by doing that. So yeah, this episode didn't make very much sense to me. I'm pretty glad that this stuff like isn't remembered later on, but this just didn't make very much sense to me.
Oh, I actually thought the basic thing made sense. The point was, again, after he says all that stuff about teamwork and the importance of working together, but then tells him not to help Naruto, it made some sense as a test that they decide, okay, well, we'll ignore that rules in order to help him. It did. That part was slightly padded out in the anime compared to the manga, though. In the manga, once they feed Naruto, Kakashi just shows up immediately and tells them they pass. But in this one, there's a little more where he talks to them first and such. The problem, I honestly really like this on the whole for the most part. But here's the problem I've got. So Kakashi is upset at them for not taking things seriously, and he calls them brats. And I'm thinking, they're 12. Why would you expect them to be approaching all this with all this like adult knowledge? These guys are 12 years old or 13 or something like that. If you want people like more mature ninjas, wait until they're like 16 or something, at least. So that was the one issue I had. I was thinking, you're expecting a lot out of people who are pretty young, aren't you?
Yeah.
But on the whole, I thought it was pretty good, honestly. Okay. Anyway, that's Naruto. So, yeah, well, we got the team together more officially now, and yeah, nothing else to say about that. All right. Want to give any rankings or?
Yeah. So, my third place pick this week, Konosuba gets back in the top 3. Kaiju number 8 is second place. And yeah, for first place again, I'm picking Spice and Wolf.
For me, let's see. This is a tricky one. It might be easier if I were counting Toonami Rewind, but I don't want to be counting things differently when we're if you're not. So let me think about this just briefly. The first two are easy. It's the third one that I'm having a little more difficulty with. Okay, fine. We'll go with. I'll just give Dark Gathering third, Kaiju number 8 No. Konosuba second, Kaiju number 8 first. There we go. Maybe I should start including Toonami Rewind stuff because that would put although some of those series might start dominating if I do. All right, so that's all of that. So I guess I might as well say a little bit about I did see the Blue Lock movie, which has the kind of cumbersome title of Blue Lock the movie episode Nagi. Now, were you able to watch this?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. Are you planning to watch it before our next podcast? I just don't know if I should how much I should say about it.
You can go ahead. I mean, I probably am not going to be able to make it out to see it. So
okay,
yeah.
Well, just in case I don't want to get too much into spoilers, but I'll say a few things. First, so basically the premise of this movie is that it's basically the story of the series, except we all see it from Nagi's perspective instead of Isagi's. So, we see his backstory. We see that, remember that first test where it was kind of a game of tag with the ball? We see that. Him go through it. We see the games he played, and of course, then they intersect when we see the big game against Isagi's team, and then it kind of basically that's basically it. It goes through essentially the first season from Nagi's perspective. Though I should mention, towards the end, it just goes through stuff super fast. So there's that. That's basically the premise of it. On the whole, I think I liked it. The more interesting parts were definitely when we were seeing new stuff. When we were just seeing the big game that we already saw in the anime, it's not quite as interesting because we're just seeing the same thing, really. But on the whole, I enjoyed it. I will say the plot is if you're wondering about whether to see it if you haven't seen Blue Lock, the plot is pretty comprehensible if you haven't, although the ending will probably not make much sense because it just fast forwards through a bunch of things at the end. Like almost literally, you just get a montage of stuff, and which will make no sense if you haven't seen the anime. The other issue is I feel even if it's understandable, because it does go through a lot of things more quickly, it's not going to mean as much to you if you don't really understand some of the things that are technically explained but kind of not in as much depth as the anime series did. Also, there is a post-credits scene, but honestly, I'm not sure if I suggest watching it because I think it has some spoilers for the second season. I'm not sure because I haven't seen the second season, but it did seem like it might have some. Although if you do decide to watch it, just for the record, there's a bit you see, and then it seems like the post-credit sequence is over, and then it actually continues. So don't leave the scene too immediately. Once it starts on the English credits, that's when it's over. So that's basically the stuff there. If you like Blue Lock, I think you would like the movie. It is not a good introduction to the series, though. On the whole, I say the Spy Family Code White was better. Spy Family Code White is not only much more, I think, beginner friendly. You can go into it and enjoy it even if you haven't seen Spy Family. I also think it was just a better movie. But it's still good. If you like Blue Lock, you'll probably like this series. Also, it's based on a manga, and apparently the manga does continue past, is still going on, because without getting into specifics, do you remember how in the anime Isagi and Nagi's story kind of intersects for a good deal of time and then they get split up again? Yeah. Apparently the part where after they get split off, the manga is sort of covering that part right now, I think. So yeah, I might check out the manga at some point to see that, because I would be interested in seeing, what was going on with Nagi at that point. Anyway, it did have the effect of making me more excited for the second season. So there we go. That I tried to avoid being any particular specific, but that was my general thoughts on it. Oh, one final comment. In the anime, sometimes there would do this thing where it would kind of be a sort of more far shot, and it would just be randomly CG of the characters. The movie does that also, but it looks better than it did on the show. So that was something I noticed. But movie better budget, I guess. And that's it. All right, there's my spiel. Anything you wanted to say?
Let's see.
If you don't have anything,
Nope.
that's fine. I just wanted to let you if you had something.
No, I don't really have anything to say.
Okay, well, then that has been our episode of our podcast. We'll see you next time with more talking about these things. And yeah, we'll get the end of Zom 100, see if the final episode causes you to change your mind completely on the series. Probably not, but you never know. And yeah, that's it. And without further ado, we will see you next week then.
Bye.
A new Rave Master has been chosen.
It can't be.
His task, to recover the Rave Stones and destroy the Shadow Power forever. A simple plan, but it ain't gonna be easy.
The power of the Rave will be mine. I don't think so.
Rave Master, Saturday nights at 8:30. Stone.
Anger management at work.
Only Toonami.